Heed my words.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're preparing to face our demise innumerable times as we look over the most difficult boss from each one of FromSoftware's games that falls under the Soulsborne banner.
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Old King Alant, Demon Souls. The original final boss spun out by the granddaddy of Soul games, this false king may look less intimidating than many of the beasts prowling around the kingdom, but after facing him, it becomes crystal clear he's the most monstrous of them all. Aside from being swift with his sword and able to unleash massive AoE damage, Alant's most lethal trick is his Soul Sucker ability. Forget about a simple game over, if he gets his hands on you, he'll sap a whole soul point from you, permanently reducing your attributes. Not even the man-eaters were that harsh. Manus, Father of the Abyss, Dark Souls. The ultimate big bad of the original Dark Souls outing certainly lives up to his name, meaning any unprepared undead are in for a really bad time, because not only is Manus large and hyper aggressive, but also surprisingly quick. That deformed arm of his has some insane reach, and when paired up with a 6-move combo he likes to bust out on occasion, it can be all too easy to be swept up and torn apart. And that's all before he decides to conjure up a barrage of dark orbs and saturate the battlefield. No wonder Artorias struggled so much against this guy. Fume Knight, Dark Souls 2. The black sheep of the trilogy, one in which it feels like you're fighting the game just as much as you are its bosses. That being said, even die-hard veterans who adore the sequel's punishing mechanics found themselves struggling against this doomed swordsman. While combating and countering his dual-wielding swings is challenging enough, it's when he enters his second phase that things get ridiculous. Imbuing his ultra greatsword in dark fire, the Fume Knight will start to lash out with swings and bursts that are sure to pepper you with damage, large in part due to those ridiculous hitboxes. Orphan of Kos, Bloodborne. We won't pretend that Yharnam and its adjacent realms aren't filled to the brim with horrors that challenged us at every turn. The likes of Lady Maria, Ludwig, Lawrence and Gehrman can attest to that. And yet, it all comes back to this living nightmare when we think of Bloodborne at its most devastatingly difficult. The Orphan is the definition of relentless, wielding its own demonic placenta as a weapon, which it is all too happy to slam around the arena until the hunter is smashed to pieces. Of course, that's just the start, since its second phase will make it even more aggressive, all the while calling down lightning and unleashing explosions of blood. It's a cosmic onslaught that will test you to your limits. Nameless King, Dark Souls 3. When it comes to the closing chapter of the original trilogy, you can take your pick from its very own big three as to who you feel is worthy of the title of hardest. Dark Eater Midir might just be the most difficult dragon boss in the history of gaming, while Slave Knight Gale offers a titanic duel that serves as a pitch-perfect ending to Dark Souls' bleak narrative. But for our buck, we have to give it to the king. Atop his wyvern, he'll not only strike out with his spear, but can also blanket the arena in fire. And yet, somehow, he's even more of a challenge after his pet is slain. Between the lunges, slashes and sunlight spears, all of which have askew timings by the way to throw you off your game, the king proved himself worthy of his crown very quickly in the eyes of gamers. Isshin the Sword Saint, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice.
Sekiro.
Enemies such as the Demon of Hatred and Al-Father pushed an already ferociously steep learning curve to new heights with their high endurance and even higher damage output. But at the end of the day, there's no beating the strongest swordsman in the land. Reborn in his prime, Isshin is 3 phases of brutality that demands perfection to overcome. When he's not cutting through the heavens with his sword, he's catapulting lightning with his spear, and, just for fun, might start blasting with a hidden firearm. Isshin truly is next level. Melania, Blade of Mikola, Elden Ring.
Corpse after corpse left in my wake.
While there's every chance a new foe will rise up to take the title come the release of Shadow of the Erd Tree, for now, Melania remains the queen of difficulty in the lands between. Where do we even start? The reach of her sword and inhuman speed are downright diabolical, especially when every strike heals her to a startling degree. This all culminates in her now infamous waterfowl dance, a barrage of strikes that can easily reduce your health to 0 if you take the brunt of it. Overcome that, and she'll make the transition to Goddess of Rot, where she'll unleash an eruption of scarlet rot that at the very least will force you to keep your distance, and at worst, rob you of whatever measly life you have left. Which boss from the Souls series constantly crushed you? Let us know in the comments.